What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the BenchWire podcast, episode 16. So the playoffs are finally here, and it's kind of sad because the season is now over. And after the playoffs, how long do we got to wait? Until pretty much next September.
Yeah. Well, we have preseason in August, and we got the draft.
Ain't nobody be watching.
And we got free agency frenzy. We got some things to look forward to.
For sure, but it's still sad. Season's over. But anyways, let's just talk about the seeding before we get into anything else, right?
The playoffs are set.
Yeah, they're set. The Chiefs, they won the AFC. The Eagles won the NFC. So the second seed for both conferences was Buffalo for the AFC and the 49ers for the NFC. The third seed was the Bengals for the AFC, the Vikings for the NFC. And then I'm not going to say AFC, NFC anymore. You should probably know this.
I would hope so.
So, yeah, the 4 is Jacksonville and Tampa. 5 is Chargers and Dallas. And 6 is Ravens, Giants. And 7 is the Miami Dolphins, who were able to get in. And the Seahawks, who need to thank the Lions.
Yes.
For saving their season.
Yes, they did.
So, if you guys want to know our playoff predictions, check the next video where we talk about every single game pretty, thoroughly and make our predictions up to the Super Bowl. So, without further ado, though, let's begin this podcast. Last night, the Lions eliminated the Packers from the playoffs, and Aaron Rodgers was seen post-game, I guess. I believe he was asked by Jameson Williams if he could have his jersey, and he said something along the lines of, I'm going to keep this one.
Yeah.
And obviously,
a lot of speculation
that could have been his last game as a Packer.
Yep.
Or, last game as a Packer before he gets traded somewhere or he retires. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, personally, I don't think he's going to retire. I think he still has a lot left in the tank. But I think that he's ready to leave Green Bay and explore different franchises. And this is going to be interesting, right? Because there's an argument to be made that Rodgers if he had Tom Brady's weapons, you could argue that Aaron Rodgers might be better at the moment. So teams that want Brady next year, maybe like the 49ers or something, if Aaron Rodgers is available, would they take Aaron Rodgers over Tom? Yeah. What do you think?
That's a good question. I don't know if they're
both of them are head cases in different ways.
I don't think they'd be willing to take on that contract, $50 million a year. That's going to be hard to, adjust with their salary cap situation. But I think Aaron Rodgers retires, in my opinion, because I think he's had enough, and I've seen it throughout this year. He's just not the same, interception-wise. He's used to throwing, 3 a season? This year he had, I think, double digits.
I think he had 12.
Yeah. I know he had new receivers this year. A lot of growing pains that were had. But, yeah, I think Rodgers, he hangs it up. I think he's done the best he possibly could throughout his career, and going to a different team, I don't think he wants to do that and wants to retire a Green Bay Packer. But back to that Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers question, I think teams rather have Tom Brady at this point because he'll be cheaper, and teams want to win it now rather than
take that every year. I mean, if you get Tom Brady and you have a good team, there's a really good chance that you can go deep in the playoffs.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers has had good teams now
and
for a little bit.
And he has been able to get the job done. So I think, I'd rather have Tom Brady for 1 year than have Rodgers for, a few years and possibly not make it to the Super Bowl. So, that's where I stand on that.
One team that, I don't know, I kind of get a little bit, confused with, or maybe not confused with. So Zach Wilson, he's probably going to have to sit next year behind a good quarterback, whether it's Carr on a 1 year or not 1 year. I think it would be the last year of his deal.
So you think the Jets are going to keep Zach Wilson on the roster?
I think they're going to keep him, and I think that if they were able to somehow get, one of these, Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers for 1 year, because their roster is good. I mean, they have receivers, and their defense is obviously, Super Bowl caliber in terms of, how far they can bring a team. I mean, this isn't the same old Jets that you laugh about every year. I mean, this Jets team is actually pretty good. Man. And, there's just part of me that thinks, well, they haven't really paid enough of their young guys yet.
Yeah,
so could you get Aaron Rodgers and just deal with that $50 million for 1 year?
They could.
And just see if he could do something with this team.
But would they be willing to give up future draft picks?
That's the question, yeah. That's what, we talked about last night. The one thing I said was, even though we're talking about him moving now, I kind of made fun of the people that were talking about, trying to move Aaron Rodgers and whatnot, because $50 million is really, it's really hard to move.
Yeah, that's a lot of cap space. Pretty big contract.
That's like
the table.
That's two $25 million players.
Yeah.
You could just keep breaking it down, and it's like that could be a lot of good players, but you're just getting one player. So, I don't know. It's a good conversation to have, though. But let's talk about today, because today is Black Monday. So every year when the regular season is over, that next day is usually when coaches get fired. And Lovie Smith got fired today.
First one off the board.
Yeah, the first year of his 4-year contract.
Another one and done for the Texans.
Yeah. I personally don't think that Lovie Smith was that bad. It did seem like the Texans were trying to tank at times, and they did play teams pretty close.
Yeah, they were in a lot of close games.
Which is really, I don't know. I think you fire Lovie simply because when you bring in a young quarterback, whether it's Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, they're probably going to want to bring in a rookie coach with them so they can grow together.
Yeah.
Because it's quite hard to have a coach that's been there and then you bring in a unless they're like a top coach. But Lovie Smith, realistically, is not a top coach. But, yeah, he was fired. I personally don't agree with it.
Yeah, I think it's stupid. Just keep having a coach come in, play for a season, and then dump them at the end of the year. Because you can't build a team like that.
You can't, because now all of those players who had good years this year have to learn a new system.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very hard to do that on a consistent basis. And I heard the two candidates the Texans are looking at is your favorite Eagles defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, and DeMeco Ryans from the 49ers.
I would do DeMeco Ryans every single day of the week.
I would too. But you want to be mad if they take Jonathan Gannon, right? You'd be happy. No. You'd be excited, ecstatic.
Yeah, I'd be happy. Jonathan Gannon he's not bad, but he definitely, sometimes I think his personal...
Yeah, I don't think he's head coach material.
His personal biases towards certain game calls during the games, it hurts us, and he tends to not want to correct himself until after halftime.
Yeah.
So it's pretty rough to watch. But as a player's coach, he seems like a great person. Every single player on the defense loves Gannon. There's been disagreements about some of the calls that he has, but no one questions who he is as a person. So if the Texans got him, they would definitely be getting a player's coach, but they'd get a player's coach that favors his opinion over others.
Yes.
So, Lovie Smith, let's go back to him for a second, because yesterday,
yep,
the Texans came back against the Colts.
Jeff Saturday Colts.
And they scored a 2-point conversion. They gave them the lead with maybe...
I think less than a minute left.
Yeah, I was going to say less than a minute left. They lost the first overall pick because of this.
Yep.
And, a lot of people tend to think that it doesn't really matter because the Bears are not going to take a quarterback, number one. But the thing is, if you look at the draft order, I believe it's the Colts who have the fourth pick. Do you know that?
I don't know on the top of my head, but yeah.
So I believe that they have the third pick. Let's go ahead and look here. There it is. They have the fourth pick. And I have a feeling that the Colts, they could try to make a package here and trade up with the Bears.
And go number one overall.
Yeah, to grab Bryce Young or whatever their choice is.
CJ Stroud.
So, unless the Texans like both quarterbacks and don't mind who they get, which I personally don't really understand that type of, thought. Get who you think is the best.
Yep.
They're not equal. There's no way that they're equal. So, it's just such a Texans thing to do. You tank all season, and this is the game that you're like, yeah, let's go for the win.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are certain fans that don't mind it. They just want to see a win. But going into this draft, you just better hope that the Bears say it's Will Anderson, and just move on. So, what do you think?
I think Lovie Smith was coaching for his job yesterday, and he went for it all, and they got the job done. They won the game.
He still got fired.
And the GM didn't like that, so they're like, hey, we're going to cut ties with you. But
it seemed like a lose-lose for him.
Yeah, they were going to fire him, I think, at the end of the season, at the end of the day. But, yeah.
Maybe it was a statement by him to other, teams that need a coach, saying, listen, I was told to tank. I can win games.
Yes.
So,
yeah, and
maybe
it's not
he did
a
that
good
for
look
himself.
To keep losing games, because the players on that team, they fight every week to try and win, and they sign a contract to compete at the end of the day.
Yeah, they don't sign these contracts to tank.
Yeah, they don't sign to not try and make the playoffs. But when you're on the Texans, you're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it sucks to be a Texans player and lose every week. So, I understand why they won that game.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Cowboys. They lost 26-6 yesterday.
It was a disaster.
Yeah, it was a disaster. Dak was 14 of 37.
7th straight game with the interception.
7 straight. He has 14 on the year.
It's bad.
And he's only played
He is the lead for interceptions now, right?
Yep. So.
And he hasn't played all year. So that's kind of bad.
Yeah,
Can we all agree that Dak Prescott is not a top 10 quarterback?
I don't think he is. I think
because there's people out there that still believe that, and I do not know how. He's only won one playoff game in his career, and
see what they see is, he has these really good games where he looks good, but there are other people in this league who are not top 10 quarterbacks that can have good games. I feel like people think, well, if you have a good game, you're a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah.
But that's just simply not true. Like Carson Wentz this year with the Commanders, he's had a good game.
Has had great games. He's had good games.
You know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Games where the stats don't look bad. They look pretty good. And it seems to be what Dak does.
I think
he'll have a few bad games and then have a really good game, and everyone's like, oh, he's back. And then he'll have another bad game, and they're like, no one knows what to think of him. But there's nothing to think about. He's not a top 10 quarterback.
He's not a top 10 quarterback. Maybe he could prove me wrong, win some playoff games, but I doubt it. The way they played yesterday, and
even if they win some
year.
playoff games, I'm not giving him top 10 because you have to show consistency.
Say they make the NFC Championship though. No. Say they win the NFC Championship.
No matter what, they could win the Super Bowl. No,
he's a top 10 if they win the Super Bowl.
No,
he has to be top 10.
No, because the team did good then.
Well, he has to do something.
Yeah, but I'm not putting him in top 10 just because of the playoffs.
Okay.
I feel like you can't move.
If you win the Super Bowl,
you can't move the needle there.
You have to be a top 10 quarterback. If he has a great postseason, say he has I don't know, say he has 4 touchdowns in every game,
then it would just be a great run and he'd be a playoff performer. That doesn't mean he's top 10 quarterback.
Okay.
But it means when you think of the playoffs, who do you want as your quarterback? He would be in that conversation.
Okay.
I can't just give him that because he had a good.
I don't think any of this happens, but
obviously, no one thinks that would happen.
I think there's an argument there that needs to be made, but
regardless,
Sam Howell looked pretty good in that game.
He looked fine. For his first game, he looked pretty good.
First game, it was pretty good. For being a third-string quarterback, not bad.
Yeah. So, I'm just looking at Dak's stats here. His stats. And throwing 15 picks in 12 games.
Yeah, that's not a pretty stat.
I mean, that's really bad.
He went 8-4. Is that what that says?
Yeah.
Okay, that's. But who have they really played though?
Since he's been back, not really anybody.
Because they beat Josh Dobbs and the Titans.
Cooper Rush tended to play those hard ones to begin with.
They played Josh.
They did play the Vikings.
They played the Vikings. Yeah, that was a great win, but they lost to the Packers, who haven't been great this year. They've been inconsistent. They beat Gardner Minshew and the Eagles. Right? Who else have they beat? They beat the Giants twice, but he only played the Giants once. He's beat some playoff teams, but I don't think they were at full strength. Each playoff team he's beat.
I mean, yeah,
except the Vikings.
You can't. I mean, This is definitely not the Dak I know. I know Dak is better.
He's played better.
Dak
than this,
is better than the stats say. But that doesn't take away the fact that, over his career, I feel like there's only been 1 year where it's like, oh yeah, like he's easily a top whatever quarterback, and that was last year when he had 37 touchdowns.
Yeah, he fell off a little bit.
Maybe 37 and 10. He was in the MVP conversations. But, I mean, before that, he only had 1 year with 30 touchdowns, and it was exactly 30.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he's been an okay quarterback, but I feel like he's not as good as people try to make him out to seem.
He's a little bit overrated and a little bit overpaid, I would say.
For sure. I think that they would like to rework that contract.
Yes.
But yeah.
Let's move on.
49ers.
Yes.
They ended the year on a 10-game win streak.
And 5 of those games were with Brock Purdy.
Yep. Brock Purdy's looked good. And you asked me a pretty good question last night. Could he win Rookie of the Year?
I don't think he'll win it.
Yeah, my answer is no. He didn't play enough games. If he did play the whole season, there's a chance.
There's definitely a chance.
And I guess that does say something, that if he were to win Rookie of the Year, that he could be their quarterback of the future. And I'm not rooting against it. I mean, the guy was the last pick in the draft, right?
Yeah, Mr. Relevant.
So
but now he's relevant. So
my biggest thing is the 49ers system is just so quarterback friendly, and you can't really blame the quarterback for that. But I think in terms of trying to say whether or not they are good or not, I mean, Brock Purdy, I think he's really good at anticipating, the passing lanes, kind of understanding that if I throw it here, by the time the ball gets there, he will be open, which is something that guys like Zach Wilson can't do. And that's why I think that 49ers offense works so well with Brock Purdy. What did he finish the season with?
He
was it 13-4?
Yeah. 13 touchdowns, 4 picks, 107 QBR with 1,300 yards, and a 67.1 completion percentage. That's pretty good.
No, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it's just...
We'll look at the teams he played, right? So he played the Dolphins. That was with Tua, I believe. The Bucks, who've been inconsistent. The Seahawks. So, right there, 3 playoff teams. He beat them. Commanders, not a playoff team. Raiders, not a playoff team. Cardinals, not a playoff team.
This is my biggest thing, right?
Okay.
Is I think that people are trying, it seems, to give Brock Purdy a lot of that credit right now, when I think it should really be that defense.
Well, the defense is up there.
The defense is the best in the league, no doubt, and they're probably one of the best defenses all time. Mm-hmm. And obviously, when you have a 23-year-old quarterback who's come in, more than halfway throughout or after the season started, he's in a really difficult spot, and they've made it really easy for him to give him multiple opportunities to go score some points.
Yeah.
especially with like turnovers, fumbles, and sacks, getting them good field position.
Yep.
So I want to give Brock Purdy credit, but I'm not ready to, sign him off as their quarterback of the future. I think he has a lot to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, the 49ers, they should consider themselves very lucky right now.
Yeah, because they have 3 good quarterbacks on the roster right now.
Yeah, and I still think they should go with Trey Lance next year because I think he makes their offense even better with his running ability.
Purdy can run a little bit. He's a little mobile. Nothing like Trey Lance, but he can get the job done.
I remember he had a run yesterday, and I was like, he is slow. Not slow, but it's one of those where his speed might be good, but his acceleration is very low.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, let us know in the comments what you guys think of Brock Purdy. Be very interested to see.
I think he's pretty good.
I've seen a lot of comments on him, and it seems to be a pretty big conversation right now.
Yes.
And for good reason, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, enough of the 49ers. The Dolphins made the playoffs. And Tua obviously missed this game, and he missed the last game, so he's missed 2 games now with a concussion.
Yep.
Do you think that the Dolphins should start him next week in the playoffs? And do you think they will? I don't think that they should start him, but I think they will.
I think they should shut him down for the rest of the season because he's had 3 concussions, and having 3 concussions in one season is not good for any player.
See, there's an argument that he only had 2, though, because the one in the Bills where he, fell over, apparently it wasn't confirmed that he had a concussion.
It was a concussion, let's be honest.
It looked like one. So, I want to say it's 3 from my personal opinion, although the doctors will say it's 2.
Yes.
But I'm still going to say 3 because, regardless, he's been injured all season. You can't just keep letting him
You protect the players at the end of the day. And I think Tua should not start next week. It was a good season for him and a good season for the Dolphins, but I would protect Tua's future and not play him this game. Maybe if they win this game, then have a conversation about playing him. But honestly,
this is the thing, right? They're playing the Bills. So, realistically,
I don't think they win this game.
Yeah, but my thing is, if the Dolphins played, Jacksonville, would they start Tua? Because they would definitely have a chance in that game.
It doesn't matter who you play. I don't think. At the end of the day, you don't start Tua this game because he's not ready and you want to protect his health.
I don't think that they should either. I think they should shut him down for the season.
I would try and get Teddy Bridgewater back.
If Tua says that he is ready to go, I don't see how you don't start him. It is the playoffs.
You just don't start him.
And he's had 2 weeks now to recover.
Well, he's had 2 weeks before, and he came back, got hurt the next week, so it doesn't really matter.
But Bills don't have Von Miller.
They don't have Von Miller.
Which is obviously big for Tua. He won't have to face that kind of pressure, potentially get sacked and get hurt.
They'll still have a really good defense, though. Yeah. Leslie Frazier.
You have to prioritize the player's health.
I would not start Tua. It's either the Skylar Thompson show or Teddy Bridgewater if he comes back.
I'm not watching Skylar Thompson in a playoff game.
Well, we're going to have to.
I would just sign Cam Newton or something.
They're not going to do that.
I'm not letting Skylar Thompson.
They're not going to do that. But yeah, I don't think Tua should start next week. And I don't think they win this game because of that. And he will be back for week 1 next year. So that's when I think he plays next. Week 1 next year.
All right. Let's talk about the Steelers, right?
Mike Tomlin.
They almost made the playoffs with a rookie quarterback, Kenny Pickett. And that's honestly not even the most impressive part. The most impressive part is that they almost made the playoffs with Matt Canada as their offensive coordinator. They finished the season 9-8. So 1 win away from 10 wins. And, this was a rebuild year for the Steelers. Mm-hmm. I know they still have a good defense. But, this is... It's crazy how quickly they have turned this around. Because it looks like next year, with a Kenny Pickett that's already had his rookie season, and TJ Watt having a fully healthy season, they'll hopefully have improvements on the offensive line to help Najee Harris and Kenny Pickett. George Pickens will be in his second year. I mean, this could be a scary team next year, and that NFC North could easily become like the NFC East, where every team is just being competitive.
Yeah.
Because you can't even count out the Browns either, because since Deshaun came back, which was what, against the Texans?
Yeah,
they are 1-1, 2-1, 2-2,
3-2, 3-3.
3-3. They were 3-3 with Deshaun, who obviously hadn't played in how long? I mean, their offense.
Give them a full off season, working with the team. Yeah, Deshaun Watson, I think he'll be back next year.
So, yeah, that division, very scary to think about. If you're the Ravens, you got to re-sign Lamar now.
And you got to give him some
weapons. You're not going to have any chance to compete in this division for the next 5 years.
You can't have Sammy Watkins
you can't.
as your number one receiver right now. That's bad.
It's really bad.
But, yeah, I would still say the Bengals are the best team in that division and the favorites to win it next year. But, yeah, the Steelers are looking good. I think they'll be a wild card team next year. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much better they'll get. But, yeah, you got to see what they do in the offseason, see if they get an offensive line, and go from there. Yeah. But let's see. What are you looking at here?
I want to talk about Desmond Ridder.
Desmond Ridder.
So, his first start was, I believe it was against the Saints, was it? Yeah.
It was the last 3 games of the season. Or 4. I don't know. He only won 1 game, and it was last game against the Bucs.
I'm not going to sit here. Okay, so he played the last 4 games. I'm not going to sit here and say that he needs to win to prove anything. Fact is, he played pretty good in the games that he's played, especially for coming in for the final 4 games when every other team is. I mean, the Saints were obviously pushing for the playoffs. The Ravens are still trying to get a rhythm before the playoffs. He beat the Cardinals. That's a good win. And he beat the Bucs yesterday, who had to pull out Brady because it was just not looking good.
Yeah.
And there's just no point. So, finished 2-2 as a starter. And, obviously that Falcons team is not that good. But I feel like he proved enough over these last 4 games to earn a chance next year. And I think the reason you give him a chance next year is because it's obvious that Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud are going to be gone by the time the Falcons pick, unless they make a big trade for the first overall pick.
They could.
But I think that you go with Ridder, and if things don't look good next season, if you have the top whatever pick, you can get Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they give him a chance next year, and I think that he deserves it. I'm excited for him. I think he's a good player.
You think he'll start all year?
Next year? Yeah.
What if they go out and get a free agent quarterback, though? What if they don't like him?
They're not going to not like him. They liked him through these games.
Well, yeah. They had no other choice because Mariota was hurt, though.
But he threw 2 touchdowns in the 4 games. Obviously, they were very heavy with Tyler Algier, their running back, who he's pretty underrated as well. Season. Pretty underrated.
Yep.
Trying to find the thing here, Football Reference. I don't know where it is because I'm pretty sure he had a rushing touchdown. Did he not?
Possibly. Maybe.
Probably not. I don't know. I thought he did, but I don't know.
I think the Falcons are going to weigh their options at quarterback. I don't think they're just going to use him next year. They're going to see who's available in free agency, who's willing to come over. If not, he'll be the quarterback. But they could take a gamble in the draft and get a guy like Anthony Richardson, right? Or maybe a Will Levis.
See, my big thing, though, with Desmond Ridder is in those 4 games, he did not turn the ball over.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least through the air, from what I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know that for a fact. He didn't throw any interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And that says a lot about a rookie quarterback, is that they could play 4 clean games and give their team a chance in almost every single one to try to win. That's all you can ask from a rookie quarterback at that point. You can't ask him to carry your team to a victory.
Yep.
Just give your team a chance, and he did that. So I think that's why he deserves a chance. next year.
Okay.
But, yeah, I think that's all we got.
That's all we got. Next video, predictions for the playoffs.
Yep.
Should be a good one.
Be on the lookout for that. It'll be on Spotify.
Yes, this is our first episode on Spotify.
Yeah.
So
we'll see about Apple Podcasts. I believe it's the same way to do it, but
we will figure that out, and we'll let you guys know.
Spotify no matter what.
We'll give you an update. But yeah, you want me to end it off?
Go for it.
All right. If you guys enjoyed this podcast on YouTube, drop a like, subscribe to our channel. We would really appreciate it. We also have a link tree in the description box below with all our social medias, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. And we also now have our podcast on Spotify. So if you enjoyed it, share the podcast with your family and friends. And we'll catch you guys later. BenchWire, out.